Good morning and welcome to Saturday special of Dr.Lamba's Awakening Call. We very often hear, normally practically dozens of times, the hands that rock the cradle rule the world. And the second one, behind every successful man there's a woman. There's a great truth in that. But we forget that many times a man's life is impacted, influenced, and changed because of some women who are neither behind them nor are their mother. And that's a reality of life. Now, this can have also allegorical interpretation. Coming to the Hindu scripture Ramayana, we find Rama was supposed to be the paragon of virtue, great fighter, honest, man of integrity, a real authentic human being. Now, of course, deemed a god. But was it Kaushalya who was responsible for his? No. Was it Sita? Sita was with him for a very short time. She was first kidnapped and then exiled. And then she died. So who was the person who changed his life? These were two women, Mantra and Akampa. Practically everybody knows the story of Mantra. And the story of Ramayana can be said to have evolved because of craftiness, cunningness, or maybe shrewdness, worldly wiseness of Mantra and Akampa. Now, Mantra, practically 100% people know, was the hunchback maid of Kakai, the stepmother of Ramayana. She was on the terrace of the palace when she saw the city bursting with festivities. She wobbled along to find someone, find the reason. And she was told that Ram is being crowned tomorrow. Now, suffering from a motiveless malignity, she had no motive. She wouldn't care less whether Ram was there, or Bhatt was there, or Lakshman was there, or Shatrughan was there. But then she felt a sense of loyalty to her mistress, Queen Kakai, but so she rushed to her room and was very harsh. She said, "You foolish woman, get up. Do you know that tomorrow Ram's coronation is going to take place as the crown prince?" Kakai was honest. She didn't hate the mantra. She was really very happy that Ram was being crowned. And now this is something tragic. Most of the people blame Kakai. She was not to be blamed. She was really happy. And she said, "This is what we have been waiting for." And she said, "Both are Ram or Bharat, it makes no difference to me who becomes the king. Both are apples of my eyes." Now, Mantra saw that Kakai was not going to change her mind so easily, so he played a trump card. Then says, "Kaushalya has always been jealous of the king's attention for you and is thinking of taking revenge on you. Now, when her son becomes the king, you will not be the favorite queen. You will be just another woman in the palace. The real rule shall be of Kaushalya, the co-wife, the mother of Rama." Now, Kakai was the youngest wife of Dasharath, and she held the affection of Dasharath and was proud of that. She could see that really there is some truth in that. Jealous Kaushalya can belittle her, reduce her status. So Mantra had what had done was she had ignited her ego, bristled with anger. She listened to Mantra and the rest is known. Rama was exiled ultimately for 14 years. Of course, he was not exiled officially. He went of his own accord, considering the wishes of his stepmother. Now this is the way she shaped. Now comes in another character. Practically 90% of the people do not know her, though she is one of the most important characters in Ramayana. And she changed his life, his thought, his perception absolutely in a revolutionary way. Akampana had been in Jansatna with Kara, Trisra, and Dusasha. And there was a fight between Rama and Rakshas. Rama killed 14,000 Rakshas, including Kara, Trisara, Dusasha. Akampana escaped, and she came running to Ravan to give the message that 14,000 Rakshas have been killed. Ravana was, of course, angry, furious, and hurt. So he wanted to avenge the death of his brother Kara and was ready to go to war with Rama immediately. Akampana then said that Rama can never be won by a war. So what do I do? Why do you not kidnap his wife? She is very attractive. He is attached to her. And once you kidnap her, the death of Rama would be certain. So the whole thought of kidnapping of Sita was implanted in the mind of Ravana. Now Ravana was a very sensible man. He didn't take action. He went to Maricha and asked for help to kidnap Sita. Maricha admonished him, rebuked him. Why do you ask for that trouble? Don't play with Rama. He is practically Vishnu's avatar. Go back, live in peace. Prosper, let your city and your citizens prosper. Ravana heard it, came back. He, like Kakai, listened to the reason. But then what happened? Here comes in Srupnaka, heard, wailing. And in addition to deriding him by saying, what kind of king you are, that these mere mortals enjoy your sister and you do not even know about it. And then she said, I went there only to get the beautiful woman for you. She's so beautiful. So she caught the attention of Rama. His lust was ignited. And the lustful imagination of Ravana, his hurt ego, first by the killing of 14,000 Rakshas, and especially his brother Kara. And then the description of Sita by Srupnaka. And then the revenge that Srupnaka's nose had been chopped off by Lakshmana. So all these combined. And then his ego was hurt that he was a ruler. How could his sister be insulted? So Ravana changed his mind, ignored Marish's advice, and went to war. And the rest is known. So two major incidents. Rama would not be exiled but for the instigation of mantra. There would have been no war with Ravana except for Kampana. These are the two women who turned the minds, one of Kakai, the other of Ravana. Both Kakai and Ravana were very sensible. They resisted it initially, but then ultimately they were human beings. And their ego being hurt, their fear being there, so they became easy targets to influence. Ravan lost his life, and Kakai lived to repent. Now, what's the significance? In today's contemporary significance is most important. Whenever we take such people who have played a major role, and many times not even acknowledged by the people, as in case of Akampana. Now, Akampana's case is a very peculiar case. She is the major cause of the war that resulted in the death of Ravana, his brothers and everybody. But people have ignored it. Now coming to that, Who are the mantras and the kampanas of today that you have to be careful about? Because they motivate you, because they ignite the emotions of anger, resentment, frustration in you, and they change the very life structure. One is, of course, the propaganda by the politicians. They would always suppress the truth and suggest the false. And that's what exactly was done by Akampana and Mantra. Bury the truth and expose the false. Second one is still more important, the social media. The social media, the politicians are like Mantra and the social media is like Akampana. Misinformation, disinformation, manipulated information, all these are parts of motivating, impacting your decision making, your cognitive abilities being disabled are there. And then they change. Now the allegorical meaning is of these two women. Forget that they were women. The reality is that they represented what Dr. Goebbels said as the Second World War. You repeat a lie 1,000 times and it becomes truth. Now here they didn't repeat it 1,000 times, they repeated it twice or thrice, that's it. But the fact is that the repeated advice, repeated suggestions, like even auto-suggestion, here it's from the outside, television, they had nothing to gain. So what have Mantra to gain? Nothing. So she was posing as objective, detached, honest commentator, the way the media does. They pose that they are the lily white, honest, pure, but they are not. They have their own agenda. Many times they are the purchased hacks of the politicians or other organizations who pay them. So they manipulate, present things in a manner that you are impacted, you are influenced, your thinking skills are nullified. So the contemporary analysis is that if you want to avoid that situation, especially the people who are at the receiving end, because at the receiving end ultimately was Kakai and Rama, not Rama. So whatever you see, read, watch, hear, you have to be alert and take it with a pinch of salt. Accepting advice, suggestion, even in normal life. Say, somebody comes to you and says that your son was taking a drug. He might have smoked a cigarette only. But then you would immediately get furious. How dare she do? No? You would not let your own experience, your own interaction with your child, but then, well, you have said so. And in Indian and Pakistani family, South Asian, it's very good. What shall the people say? The people saying is more important than your own. So those two women, Mantra and Akam, are the public opinion. And that public opinion which is not honest but which is manipulated. It's like the exit polls, You are the opinion polls, not exit polls, the opinion polls. You present your questions in a way that the person says yes or no the way you want it. So they are manipulators. And Mantra and Akam were the master manipulators. Changed the life of Rama. And they did not interact with Rama at all. No. They used the other persons as their pawns. So you have got to be careful that you are not being used as a pawn. Or you are not being used to further the insidious interest of somebody else. Whether it's media, whether it's politicians, whether it's so-called friends and well-wishers. Everybody poses to be a well-wisher, which he or she may not be. So, when you allow your cognitive skills, your thinking capacity to be impacted by the others, who may have no agenda at all except motiveless malignity, without reason, then you have to be careful. And had Rama and Kakai gone by their own thought, possibly the story of Ramayana would have been much different. And this tragedy of Ravan and Kakai could have been avoided. So, these two women have both an allegorical meaning as well as related to the story. They are important. And unfortunately, their roles have never been highlighted. And the people who are really honest have been derided all the time. Thank you.